Good morning, YouTube. I'm Wrigley Juice Recipes. Welcome back to my channel. All right, so today I want to talk about ADVs or all day vapes and what I think makes a good all day vape, and also want to talk a little bit about my mixing style and what it is that I try to accomplish with my recipes. So, where to begin? Let's talk about my mixing style a little bit. So, there's a lot of different subtleties that go along with mixes and people's personality really comes out in their recipes. Some people go for like more nuanced mixtures. Developed comes to mind. Their tiramisu, not tiramisu. What was the other one? Tres leches. Their tres leches mix, for example, is it's incredibly authentic. But when I talk about nuance, what I mean is that when you take a puff of that flavor, it tastes exactly like what it would be like if you were to eat a piece of tres leches. That's nuance mixing. My style as a mixer is straightforward. You get what you get. I don't go for the nuance, the authenticity a lot. Part of that is because I want people to immediately have access to my recipes when they see them or when I release them. I try to use flavors that a lot of people have, and I hear a lot of people say that. I experience it all the time myself. You see something that you want to make, and then you don't have half of the ingredients, or you're missing this or that, and then you feel like you need to go and order this because you really, really, really want to try it. I really try to shoot for simple recipes that I think people will have the ingredients for. Another thing that I preach and preach and preach is that if you have, let's just say strawberry, for example, if you have a strawberry flavor, a strawberry concentrate that you really, really like, I don't feel the need to go out of my way to try to buy a whole bunch of other strawberries just because they're in other people's recipes. I really try to make DIY accessible to that demographic of people that are kind of mixing because it's a necessity. You know, all of the bans, all of the politicians that are passing legislation against flavored e-liquids and things like that. They've really tried to make it impossible to get the things that you need to stay off of cigarettes. And I think that that's really, really what this is about. There's people out there that they can't go to the shop down the street and buy a liquid that they like. So they've had to go buy flavors and start mixing. Not all of the, not everybody immediately has access to all of the resources that the more experienced mixers have access to. I want accessible recipes for people that are mixing out of necessity because they have to. Anyways, I know I'm kind of rambling on and getting philosophical or whatever, but I want to talk about all day vapes. So there's two things that I think are pretty key for making an all day vape what it is, and that you can use it all day long and not ever get sick of it. The first one, and I think the most important one, is familiarity. It has to be a flavor that's very familiar to you, something that's comforting, something that's going to help you stay off of cigarettes. When you go to work, when you go out to do errands, when you're not sitting down and analyzing the flavor, when you're not mixing something to try to be authentic, you need that familiarity, that comfort. So for me, vanilla is something that's very familiar. It's very comforting. I put vanilla in everything. Another thing that is really, really important is that it's very flavorful. So keeping it simple, 2, maybe 3 notes so that you can pick up on those details as you're using it. Like I said, not analyzing it, but you know that it's there. So I tend to bump my percentages up a little bit higher, and I keep the number of flavors that are in it to a minimum. When I first quit smoking, we went to the shop, and they have a juice bar where you can, sit down and try all different kinds of flavors. And I don't know how many flavors we tried. We tried one and be like, yeah, that's it's pretty good. We would mostly with all of them. I wasn't super duper impressed with a ton of them. They were fine, but I didn't really feel like it was something that I could stick with, that I could use all the time, every day. We just kept trying more and one after another one, and then eventually that's the one. It was a key lime pie with graham crust, but the flavor specifically was a whole bunch of graham cracker. And it was the only one that we tried that night that had graham cracker. And it was just like an explosion of buttery, sugary graham cracker in your mouth. And I just loved it immediately when I tried it. It just clicked. So I go back to graham cracker a lot. I go back to vanilla a lot because that particular flavor that got me off of cigarettes is graham cracker, vanilla, and like a little bit of key lime. So this first recipe that I want to show you is a recipe that I use all the time. It's in this tank right now. It's a graham cracker and vanilla. It's I've got cereal 27 in it, but it's not really a cereal. It's more just like graham cracker and vanilla. So let's take a look at the recipe. Okay, we're going to use TFA Cheesecake Graham Crust at 4%. I've got my giant bottle of Cabela Cereal 27 at 4%. TFA Vanilla Bean Ice Cream at 2%. Flavor Art Marshmallow at 1%. And this recipe needs some sweetener, so I use Cabela Super Sweet at 0.5%. It took me a lot of tries before I ever got this right. The first note, the most important note was the graham cracker because I was searching for this specific graham cracker note. I use cheesecake graham crust because it's this it's not super dark, but it's a darker graham cracker, and then it has this butteriness to it that I just love it so much. Combine it with the cereal 27, you get this really nice crunchy graham cracker. The TFA vanilla bean ice cream is there for a creamy vanilla note. Some people taste pepper with this note because of one of the chemical compounds that's in it. That's fine. If you're a pepper taster, you can use Liquid Barn vanilla ice cream as a substitute. I just prefer the TPA vanilla bean ice cream. The Flavor Art Marshmallow is there to give it some mouthfeel and some stickiness, and it also adds to the sweetener. I think that the super sweet is something that this recipe needs. Feel free to adjust that, leave it out, whatever you want to do. Listen, guys, if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe to my channel. Make sure you turn notifications on so that I get to annoy you every time I upload a video. Comment down below what your all-day vapes are and what the flavor profile was that got you off of smoking cigarettes. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next one.